This is Find Your Dream Job, the podcast that helps you get hired, have the career you want, and make a difference in life. I'm your host, Mac Pritchard. I'm also the founder of Mac's List. It's a job board in the Pacific Northwest that helps you find a fulfilling career. Every Wednesday, I talk to a different expert about the tools you need to get the work you want. Find Your Dream Job is brought to you by Top Resume. Top Resume has helped more than 400,000 professionals land more interviews and get hired faster. Get a free review of your resume today. Go to maxlist.org/topresume. Our guest today says there are basic job search principles that we all need to know. And once you understand these ideas, your job search not only gets easier, it gets you the results you want. Peter Paskill is here to talk about the 10 truths of job transition. Peter is an author, radio show host, and the founder of Career Makers. His company has helped more than 9,000 people find rewarding work. Peter joins us from Lake Oswego in Oregon. Well, let's jump right into it, Peter. You've been a career coach for many years, and you say there are 10 truths about job transition that every candidate needs to know. And we're going to go through them one by one. Before we jump into the list, I'm curious, how did you come to create this list?
Well, I consider a distillation of 37 years and 9,000 people seeing the results of what worked and what didn't work for my clients over the 37 years.
And what's the headline here, Peter? Before we jump into the list, what difference can following these ideas make in a job search?
I think the transition will be a lot easier, a lot more effective in finding and creating a new, better, fantastic job for folks.
Terrific. Well, let's go through the list. Again, these are 10 truths about job transition that you say every candidate needs to know. Truth number 1, people hire people they know and like, whether or not the candidate has the exact experience, background, or skills to do the job. Why do hiring managers pick people they know, Peter?
Well, I think we're all very aware of all the rules, laws, regulations that face both the employer and the candidate today. And this is not to run contrary to laws, rules, regulations, and all the politics that we're facing today. But from an employer standpoint, and particularly if the job is a significant job within the company or an organization, they're very fearful of making a mistake. You know, they could cost them money, market share, company profits. So if they can get a person who is recommended to them or have a person within their company or organization advocate for a potential employee, that goes a long ways in helping the potential employee be hired.
Number 2 on your list of 10 truths of job transition is this. Most open jobs are not advertised. These unadvertised jobs constitute the hidden job market. Peter, why don't employers post every job?
They'll post jobs as a matter of record. And again, we understand their laws, rules, affirmative action, and all the things that affect the hiring process. But the better jobs, the ones that are significant, pay more, have more responsibility, have more benefits, so on and so forth, if they can promote somebody from within, if they can get a recommendation, if they can get an advocate, and not have to go through the tedious and laborious and costly hiring process, many employers will go that route first.
But aren't employers hurting themselves by limiting their field of candidates and not seeing the best that might be available?
That's a very analytical question. I think employers are more emotional in terms of, the person who's actually going to make the decision, the hiring manager, the board of directors, the owner, the principal. He or she or they are fearful of making a mistake. That's the emotional part of hiring.
Here's number 3 on your list of 10 truths about job transition. There is a structured way to access the hidden job market. It is a networking process called New Way Job Search. Most people don't know how to do it effectively. How does this method work, Peter?
Well, I think that a parable for the listeners is that most people know more about the process of buying a car, buying a home, or making a significant decision than they do about how to find a job. I mean, they believe that everything they need to know is on the internet, and they don't take their gifts and talents seriously. And therefore, they're really kind of flummoxed about how to find or create a new, better, fantastic job.
But how do this new way job search that you call it, how does it exactly work if you're not looking on the internet? What do you do instead?
Well, I think number one, you have to have focus and clarity. You've got to take your gifts and talents seriously. And then you've got to create a doable plan of action that takes into consideration the commitments that you already have, but when are you going to commit the time, energy, and effort to find or create that new, better, fantastic job? Most people don't have a doable plan and are all over the place. I can do anything anywhere. That approach doesn't work.
I want to get to number 4 of your 10 truths of job transition, but can you just briefly describe the elements of that plan? What you call that new way job search?
Well, number one, I think you've got to build a foundation of knowledge. Unlike, somewhat similar to the car buying parable that I just mentioned a minute ago, you've got to sit down and figure out your transferable skills, traits, characteristics, needs, wants, desires, what puts a smile on your face and in your heart. Have a starting place, not just be all over the place, and then do targeted research.
Well, let's go to number 4 and of your 10 truths of job transition. And you say, until you take yourself seriously and come to grips with your skills, values, and interests, the essence of who you are, you will not find enjoyable and satisfying work. Peter, why is it so important to know yourself and what you offer employers?
I think it's absolutely. I don't think there's anything more important than knowing who you are and what you want. I think if you look at people that you work with or you share your life with in the world of work, and you say, wow, he is really successful, or wow, she is really successful. On balance, I find these people are doing something they really enjoy. There's a difference between what you can do, and there's an awful lot of people who are just doing that, and there's a process of doing what you want to do. And if you have the energy, you have a smile on your face, you're going to show up early, stay late, and work is not work. And I think when you enjoy your work, you're going to be a lot more successful and productive.
Have you found, Peter, that most applicants invest the time to know themselves well?
No. Initially, they don't invest in themselves. I think that there's a lot of ignorance surrounding, how to find a job today. We've been brainwashed, if you will, to believe that everything we need to know on the internet is on the internet. And certainly the internet is a fantastic tool. But for a job seeker, it is my opinion that the internet has more to do with deselecting people than selecting people. So then we should refocus our energies about who we are and what we want, take those energies and gifts and talents seriously, and go out and start talking to people and find out what the reality is, where we can use those energies and gifts and talents.
You've been doing this work for a number of decades now, and you remember what job search looked like before the internet. Do you think that the system has changed all that much, or has it just moved online?
It just moved online. When we started helping people years ago, 80 to 85% of our clients were finding jobs through personal referrals and or personal advocates. Today, 37 years later, the percentage hasn't changed at all. But just all the chatter, the white noise, if you will, between us and the jobs has affected people's ability to successfully make a transition. And I think it is, and oftentimes it has not helped us because it keeps us distant, it keeps us remote. We find people who are in trying to find a job will spend hours and hours and hours isolated and depressed on the internet, looking at jobs and sending resumes out into the electronic black hole and not hearing anything.
Number 5 on your list of 10 truths of job transition goes like this. It's what the employer wants is not nearly as important as what you want. Peter, why does what you, the job seeker, want matter more than what the employer wants?
Well, who's in this job? And I think it goes both ways. I think we're not a supplicant to employers' wants. In fact, I just had one of my clients get a job with a very prestigious organization in Portland, and they changed the job description to fit his needs and skills and talents. So they modified. And I see that happening quite often, that when employers see the value and see us as an asset, oftentimes not a perfect fit for a job description, but a better fit for a job description when we're there selling our assets, our talents, our successes, and the results that we can bring to them. Employers are a lot more flexible than we might imagine.
What do you say to a job seeker who thinks, well, no, I've got to think about what the employer wants because I want to get that job and I have to put their needs first?
I don't think that's, I think that they're going down the wrong pathway. I think that they're giving their gifts and talents away, and they're not standing out in terms of, talking about and researching how their gifts, their talents, and their skills supported by their results, achievements, and successes can be value added to that employer.
Well, Peter, this is terrific. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue to go through your 10 truths of job transition. So stay with us. Here's another job search truth you need to know. A hiring manager may spend just 7 seconds reading your resume. Are you ready for this challenge? Go to maxlist.org/top resume. Top Resume will review your resume for free. Go to maxlist.org/top resume. You'll find out how to make your resume better right away. And if you don't want to fix your resume yourself, you can hire Top Resume to do it for you. Go to maxlist.org/top resume. Now, let's get back to the show. We're back in the Max List studio. I'm talking with Peter Paskill. He's an author, radio show host, and the founder of Career Makers. Peter's company has helped more than 9,000 people find rewarding work. He joins us from Lake Oswego in Oregon. Peter, before the break, we were going through your 10 truths of job transition. And let's turn to truth number 6. You say that before you will be seriously considered as a candidate, you need to tell employers how you will make the company money or save the company money or time. Why is this, Peter? Shouldn't your qualifications alone get you a job?
Everybody has qualifications. I think that what we need to be is advocates for ourselves. Instead of sending in resumes that look like obituaries, we need to be sending resumes that look like sales brochures that tout our successes. When we're in an interview, we need to be able to be comfortable using the pronoun I, and then coupled with success stories using the format of what, how, and results, or situation, action, results, that allows us to brag with credibility. It's our job to sell ourselves to interviewers, to hiring managers, to make it as easy as possible for them to see that we're going to be an asset, not a liability. And most folks are not comfortable doing that.
And how do you recommend, Peter, the candidates you coach talk about how they can save the company money or what they might have done in that area in the past?
Well, I think it's to research what are the challenges of the company, what are the challenges of the position, and do the research so that you're going to be prepared, and then create what I call story files. So you have a good idea in advance what the interviewer is going to be asking about. In fact, I have my clients ask the people who are calling them and selecting them for an interview, what kind of questions are you going to be asking? What's the agenda? What information are you looking for? Because the interview is a performance, and my candidates are the stars.
Let's talk about truth number 7. You say the prime rule of the job search is this: open your mouth and talk to people. Anyone, anywhere, anytime. Peter, how does talking to anybody, anywhere help you get your next job?
Because you don't know. I mean, you know what you know, but you don't know what your sister or brother or husband or wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or anybody you have contact, what they know. And I think most people say, well, I'm introverted, I don't know what to say. I think you need to let people know as you move through this process where you are in the process and communicate with people, because you just never know what people know. And a lot of people will say, well, I've never heard this person talk about whatever I'm researching. Well, have you ever asked them? Well, no. So I think that we tend to be reserved and put artificial walls around ourselves and are very steadfast about not communicating very well. And I think that the more that we're out there and just letting people know where we are in the process, we don't have all the answers. That's why I'm letting you know what's going on with me today.
For some people who are between jobs, there's a stigma that comes with unemployment. It's hard to talk about their search. What advice would you give a listener that might be in that situation?
I think it's more of reflection on that. I think more people are concerned than their friends are. I think that if we stay closer to people that know us and like us, people we share our daily lives with, those are the type of people who are much more willing and able to put their thinking caps on for us than strangers. I mean, some people will go to, on the internet and get into chat rooms and boards and things like that, where they're reaching out to people who don't know them and they don't hear anything back. And they say, see, I reached out, no one responded. But they don't talk to people that they know, people who like them, people who are willing to help them if you give them the opportunity. Networking research is not based upon the number of people that you're researching with, but it's the quality of the relationship. And the higher the quality of the relationship of the person you're talking with, the higher the probabilities that they're going to be willing to try to help you.
Number 8 on your list of 10 truths about job transition is you do not need a resume to do a job search.
Well, that flies in the face of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, doesn't every employer want to see a resume, Peter?
Yeah, most people say, well, everybody says I got to put a resume out. And I think that oftentimes, resume submitted too early is the kiss of death. Unless you know what the potential employer wants, what he or she wants the resume for, what they want to see on the resume, what format or layout of the resume suits their needs, what kind of documents or substantial documents they're looking for. Just sending a resume out in the electronic black hole is a crapshoot. But that's what we're told to do. And so we spend hours every day on the internet sending resumes out in the electronic black hole and not getting anything back. I think that maybe to do a resume as sort of as a source document to begin the search, so you have something written down, you've spent some time and thinking about it. But I think you've got to connect with people. You've got to have a balanced approach. If you believe what my clients are experiencing, that 80 to 85% of my clients are getting and creating new jobs through personal advocates and or personal referrals, and the remainder through the internet and all those things, then you need to have a balanced approach. And so 80 to 85% of your time should be out into the community, networking with people, researching with people, and only 15% on the internet.
When you're reaching out to people for informational interviews, advice, introductions, is it helpful to have a resume just as a background document?
No, Mac, that can be the kiss of death too early. You want to be a researcher. You want to be an investigator because you don't know about things. And I think that if you're asking for information about areas of interest, not opportunities, but companies or organizations or interests, then you can get information. But once you ask for jobs or opportunities or submit your resume to them, now you move from a researcher who gathers information to make informed decisions to a job seeker who can only be told yes or no.
Number 9 on your list of 10 truths about job transition is a successful job search is 10% analytical and 90% emotional. What do you mean by this, Peter?
Well, I think it is 90% emotional. I think it depends on how you're feeling about yourself, how you're feeling about your world, and how you're feeling about the people in your world. And if you're not feeling good about those 3 factors, it's sort of like walking through this world with the emotional flu. We've all had the physical flu or COVID or what have you, and we know that what effect it has on us. If you're not feeling good about yourself, if you're not feeling good and positive and energized about what you're looking to find and create, if you're not surrounding yourself with positive and like-minded people, I don't care what kind of organization, what kind of strategy or structure you put, it's not going to work.
How can you improve those emotions? You mentioned surrounding yourself with positive people. What other steps do you suggest to your clients that they take?
Well, I think you've got to consider the source. There are a lot of what I would call cold water throwers out there. It's really easy to get the naysayers to tell you why you can't do something. I would, as much as you can, I would stay away from those folks and stay around people that know you and like you, want the best for you, that are like-minded. I would be around people that are, whether it's in a volunteer or whether it's in a hobby, be around people who share your interest that you're exploring to see how you can find or create a job within that area of interest.
And how's that going to help you get your next job, Peter?
It's going to put you in contact with people because in all probability, 80%, it's going to be a people, not an internet, that's going to give you that tip that's going to help you land that new, better, fantastic job. And just like my client who just got this new job, it was all through personal referrals first, and then the resume second.
Number 10 on your list of 10 truths about jobs transition is that whatever you believe to be the truth about the job market probably isn't. So, Peter, how do you figure out what to believe about the job market?
Well, I think you got to talk to people who've been successful in landing new jobs and ask them what worked for them. I think that a lot of people will hire pragmatic counselors, coaches like myself. They'll help them, guide them through. The people who come to me are bright, savvy, well-educated in the world of work they've been doing. Typically a client of mine has been in a job for 15, 18 years, and he or she knows a lot about that job. They know sickum about, if they acknowledge that, about how to find a job. And so if they can surround themselves with people who understand the process, are positive about the process, have been successful in managing the process, that really helps. But a lot of people just isolate themselves because they've been led to believe that everything they know is on the internet. And that just exacerbates the process. It makes it more emotionally defeating because you send so much out, you do so much on the internet, and you're isolated and you don't feel good about yourself.
What's the biggest myth, Peter, that you see people believe about the job market today?
I'm too old. I'm too young. I don't have enough of this. I have too much of that.
And what do you do about those beliefs?
Don't believe them and get out and start talking to people. I mean, we have to, there's a spot for everybody if they take themselves seriously. I'm in the back end of my career. I should be looking for jobs that are advertised for recent college graduates. People hire me today because I've got 37 years experience. We all have our own gifts. We all have our own skills. We all have our own successes. We all have our own achievements. We all have our own passions. The more we take those seriously, the less competition we're going to have. And if we stay around people who understand those, the easier it is in a challenging environment to find or create a new, better, fantastic job.
Peter, how do you recommend a listener use this list of 10 truths about job transition in their next job search?
Well, I think that everybody's got to take it to their own suitabilities. There are no absolutes to any of this. Because as soon as we hang up, someone's going to call you and say, "Back, I did nothing about on the internet and I got this new, better, fantastic job." I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I think that you've got to integrate the 10 truths in your own personal search and make it do and use it to make it better for you. Understanding that this is a process. It's not an event. And for many people, the process is going to take several months to find or create that new, better, fantastic job. I think if people will keep in mind, I've had clients of mine who have even taped this 10 truths list up on their bathroom mirror and use it as sort of, morning reminders of what we need to do to be effective.
Well, it's been a great conversation, Peter. Now tell us what's next for you.
I get to help new people every day. That's the joy. That's my mission, and I get to help people find or create jobs that put a smile on their face in addition to putting money in the bank. What a deal.
Well, I know people can learn more about the work you do and your company by visiting your website. That's careermakers.com. Peter, given all the great advice you've shared today, what's the one thing you want a listener to remember about your 10 truths of job transition?
Well, it's really not on a 10 truths, but it leads to that. I want people to listen to their heart and follow their smile. Take themselves and their gifts and talents seriously, and go out and research and ask the questions. How can I create a job that puts a big smile on my face? I want to look forward to going to work, and I want to get paid for it. So I think that if people quit listening to a lot of the negativity that's out there and just take ourselves seriously and talk to people, they might find things that they never knew existed.
Make sure you never miss an episode of Find Your Dream Job. Subscribe to our free podcast newsletter. You'll get information about our guests and transcripts of every show. Go to maxlist.org/show notes. Again, that's maxlist.org/show notes. Next week, our guest will be Pam Leone. She's a certified career coach and the president of Impact Coaching. Employers hire problem solvers. So when you show the value you created in past jobs, you stand out from your competitors. Pam says that a value-based resume is one of the best ways to document your accomplishments. Join us next Wednesday when Pam Leone and I talk about how to write a value-based resume and the difference it can make in your job search. Until then, thanks for letting us help you find your dream job. This show is brought to you by MaxList. Susan Thornton Huff schedules our guests. Lisa Kislin-Berry Anderson writes our social media posts. Our sound engineer is Will Watts. Brian Morrison at Potfly Productions edits the show. Dawn Mole creates our transcripts. And our music is by Freddie Trujillo. This is Mac Pritchard. See you next week.